Hello and welcome to my channel. Today in this video we are going to be learning how to use Passport.js to accept username or email in the login system. Like here you can log in with your username, password, you log in, it goes. You can also log in with your email, gmail.com, password, and still logs you in. So anyone you provide, whether email or password, or your username, you'll be able to log in. In this video also, we also try to do route protection, a middleware for route protection. We are using Passport.js. So like as you are indexed in dashboard now, you may not be able to return to the login page because you are already logged in. So, and if you're logged out and you want to access this dashboard, you may not be able to access the dashboard. So if this interests you, let's join me on this channel and let's see how the whole thing works. If you are interested in this also, you can as well go to GitHub. This is my GitHub page. You can just clone this repo. Just come here, just a single branch, just clone this repo from here, and you have this whole implementation. It's just a simple auth implementation, authentication and authorization. So we also have a little registration process here and everything. So we are going to build exactly what you are seeing. We are going to be using Passport.js. We are going to be using EJS for templating engine. We are going to be using Mongoose. We are going to be using MongoDB database. So without much ado, let's just dive into the video and progress. First thing is, you may need to go to dashboards to create a folder here. Just create a folder and name it whatever you want to do. Name it and drag this into a code editor. But me, normally I don't follow this method. I use git bash for everything. So I'll create a folder here on the scene. I'll create a folder. Let me expand this. So you probably be seeing what I'm doing. I create a folder. I want to name the folder. Let's call it passport, or let me just passport, and I also want to go into the folder. Oh, sorry, I recall this and cd passport. So sorry, I already have something I call passport. So what do I call it? Let's create another folder. Let's say login system, and also let's enter the login system. So we created this folder and we're already inside the folder. Now let's create our entry file. Let's say server.js. We've created this entry file. So let us create other folders we'll be needing. Let's create public folder. So we've created all the folders. We have public folder, we have server folder, we have views. This is a mistake, we'll correct it. So let us initialize this project by calling npm init -y. After initializing this project, well, let us also try to install the dependencies what we'll be using to work. In this, we'll be using couple of dependencies. First of all, let's start with the basic ones we use immediately. Let's say npm install express. Express is the framework we'll be using. We may also be needing EJS, embedded JavaScript. We might also be using express EJS layout. That is express EJS layouts. We might also be needing passports, which is what we are using. We're also going to use passports local, because we are going to use local strategy. We are going to also use Mongoose. We are going to use express session. We might also need .env. We might also need for password bcrypt JS. We may also need connect Mongo, connect the spelling Mongo. So these are the basic things we will need. We will let them to install. All libraries installed. Let's see what we have. So we have all this. So let's still go into our public server. Go into public and make directory. Let's create some folders inside the public server. CSS. We may have CSS. We may have image. I don't think image, and maybe JS. Let's run this command again. cd public. Oh, sorry. cd public. Anyway, all this might take our time. So now we are here. Let's just go into a code editor and exit this git bash, because we'll be using we'll be using the terminal from VS Code. Oh, there's an error. We were supposed to go back to this thing. We're supposed to go back to the root before this. So this is the folders we've created. We have our entry file, which is package we've created. When we initialize, we got this package.json. We have our entry file, which is server.js. We have this folder, which is the views. Let's rename it here. There's views. We have our server and public file and every other thing. So in this public file, let's just create one file. We'll be needing CSS. In the server here, we have our model. We may also have routes. Perhaps we'll be able to have middlewares. And that's probably what we'll have there. And we may also have database. what else? Maybe services or utils, just in case we want to store anything. That will be all for there. Let's put one more folder here in case we need to do JavaScript, front-end JavaScript. So then another thing we might have here might be, let's create layouts.js. I think this might not just be. Let's just create our normal. When we get there, we'll do. So we have all these folders. I decided to create all the folders so I don't start going back and front with folders, but since I'll be using Express layout, let me just create layout as a basic folder. Yes, so that will be all. Then finally in my root, I'll create .env for my files, and I'll say everything is okay. So what else do we do? I'll go to package.json. I have installed NodeMon globally in my services. So, but if you don't have NodeMon, just run npm install NodeMon. Something like npm install NodeMon. It will help you to restart your server anytime. So, but I already have it globally in my system, so no need installing in this local system here, in local development here. So I don't need this. So what I will do now is just to first of all go to the server and create my server. Creating server is as simple as anything in Express framework. So it's going to help us to just say, let me say const express equals to require express. So the next step will be to create an instance of the express. I created an instance of this express to create express app. So I'll choose a port, say process.env.port, or let's say 3000. What this means is I'll check the system if there is a port, use it, or use my default port. So if I come here, okay, if I come here and put port and save it maybe 8080, so and I say process.env.port, instead of this port it will choose this one I've added in the .env file. So what else do I need to do here? I will say app.listen. For this app I've created here to listen to this port, and if it connects well, let me just log something to the console. Say console.log server. Okay, let me use template literals. Server running http local /localhost port. So if I start this port, because I'm running npm start, because this is my start script here, it will run this server. So if I start, I should be able to start the server. So currently it's running on port 3000. That means I've connected this server well and it's running. So however, I would love to bring in my config file. So if I come to here and I write require .env, which we installed, and I'm bringing the config file whose path is just .env in the root folder. I should see this running now on port 8080 instead of the previous 3000 it was running. Here it was running on 3000. You can see here is 3000, but after connecting it's now running on 8080. So that means I've correctly connected this .env file here. So what else do we do? Next is to start our whole stuff. What we need to do next is, okay, so let's bring in some files we'll be using once and for all, so that we won't be going back and forth on it. So we might be needing path. Path is an inbuilt module. Require path. We might also be needing express layout. Because we are going to set up a layout. Require, remember we installed all this. Express EJS layout. We also be needing express session. Installed express session. So passport, which is a passport, or we can leave this for now because we have a lot of things to do. So after this, our server is still running well, no errors, but I just brought in these basic things we need to do. So here I will go to my server and go to model, and I will create, since it's just login system, I'll create, this is user route, user.js, the route. I will also come here and create user.js model. So in the model, what do I need to say? Let me just bring in mongoose. So require mongoose. So const user schema custom new mongoose the schema. What we want to take from user, we want the username, type of string. We also need email, type of string. You want password, type of string, and maybe full name, just in case we need it. Type of string, and maybe let's take up timestamps so that we can have created that and updated that time. So we export this module.export goes to mongoose.model. This is user model, and let's call this user schema. So we are done with this. So we create route, cons router, first to require express, because express routing is very easy. Dot router. So okay, so we export this module.export equals to router. Since we are doing login and register system authentication, I would prefer to call this just auth instead of user. Auth route. So this becomes just auth route. So, but it's a user model because it's storing user details. So this auth router. So now in the server.js, let's bring this route app.use. Just say require server and routes and auth route. So we have this route connected, this route, so we can use this route, the auth route. So what else do? We have to get this. We have auth route, we have user model, we have let's connect our database. Let's connect our database and just do database connection.js. Here we bring mongoose again, require mongoose. So let's say const connection, or let's call it db connection. db connection equals to an async function try and catch. If there's an error, log the error. If there's no error, or if there's an error, process.env, process.exit. Let's exit this with 1. 0 means no error. So what do we do here? We just say await mongoose dot connect process.env dot, let's say mongo underscore URI, and if it's fully connected you can say console.log database connected. So this is this. Then we export this function module exports, so db connection. So this is all we need to export. If there's any error, so let's create this Mongo URI. in our env file. Come here and call it MongoDB /localhost / let's say call it login system. So this is our connection. It will automatically be created in MongoDB. So because here I'm using MongoDB GUI on my system, so that's why. So let's now go to the server and bring in the connection. So let's say const connect db was to require connection we did. On the server, we are in database, we are in the connection. So here we just say connect db, then we call this function. If you successfully connect, it will tell us connected to DB. Yes, database connected. So now we are done connecting database. We've also set up the server and it's running. We've connected the env file. We progress with other basic things like building our pages as we may like to build it. However, before we build the pages, there are a couple of changes we need to do in the server. Those changes will make our work fast and efficient. First of all, we need to bring in some things to use. First of all, what do? Let's set body parsers. So here we'll say app.use express, in case we are passing a JSON express. I normally do this just to make sure I don't get any unnecessary error while in a speed. Up here, use express .url encoded, we set extended to false. This is in case you are passing anything from form body. So what else will be requiring here? We'll be using what do I mean? We're setting our static files, because in Node.js and Express, you have to specifically show where your static files are going to be coming from. Say your CSS files or your JavaScript, your front-end JavaScript, or your images, where they are going to be coming from. So you specify where they are going to be coming from. So here I'll say set static files. So I'll say app.use, this app I've created up here, .use. In my CSS, I'll say /CSS. Then express, I will tell Express that this is a static file, .static. Then path, which is the path we installed up there, .resolve. Resolve, we bring exactly where the whole thing is, underscore directory name, which is the root directory, and tracing to where it is. Public is in public / in CSS. So if I have JavaScript here, what I'll do is probably bring this down and call this one JS here, so that when I'm calling it JavaScript, and maybe here JavaScript, so it will resolve this part.resolve this. Well, I don't think we'll be writing lots of front-end JavaScript here, but for now let's just leave it. So another thing that we haven't done is setting our template engines. We have to set template engines to make sure everything works very well. So template engine is like I installed EJS, set template or view engines. What I'll be using to visualize what is happening in the server. So I'll say app.use express layout because I want to use layout. So express layout. I think that's what I called it here, express layout. Okay. Also app.use okay, but then app.use, I've not created the layout, so the layout is inside this layout folder. So let me put a basic layout. Let me call it layout or default layout, just layout.ejs. So to connect that layout, I'll say app.set and layout. Since it's inside a folder, I'll now mention where it is. I have layout. This can be confusing sometimes. Layout. Since I may have another layout, okay, this layout folder, then layout. Let me call this layout so that it doesn't confuse. The folder name is layout, then the file inside is layout. So this is folder layout, then the file is layout. So this is the layout we'll be using. So I'll also set the view engine app.set view engine. If you make mistake in the here, it will not work. So we are using EJS as our view engine. So, but since it's inside views, I will point exactly where the view sets, as in the EJS files are. So I'll say app.set views and path dot resolve, where are the views going to be located. So I'll say underscore directory name, and it's inside my views folder here. If this thing is not called views, you shouldn't call this thing views. So this views is the name given from the EJS layout, this templating engine system. You identify that as views, then this is the root directory, the directory of the views. So after bringing in this template engine, at this moment we are good to go, and everything seems to be fine. So, but as you've logged in, if you go to this, if you log into this place now, you will see you will not be seeing anything, cannot get. Okay, so what do we do in that regard? We will just say here app.get our home page. Get the home folder. What do we do? When we get the home page, we should render the very home page we will be using. And the very home page, we take this function request and response. What do? We say rest.status, let's say 200, then .render what page we want to render. Let's say home page. We'll create it, then let's give it a title, call it passport login or passport or login system. Let's call it login system, and this is home page. So, and we can also choose which layout. That is how Express layout work. Which layout we want to use. Let it be just our default root directory layout and layout. So we have created this layout, but nothing is inside. In this view, let us create this home page. We just created a home page.ejs, and let's say here, let's say h1 home page. So, but here there is nothing here, so let's create this and everything here by EJS standard. We render the body here. Here we put the title. So this is our title, our body. So here, whatever we put here, we'll be able to get it there. So let's check this page again and see if we'll be able to refresh. Okay, so we have it. And look at the title, login system homepage. So we are right. So anytime you get here, we are here. Also, we are going to be having two other pages. So let's quickly create a login page, login.ejs, and let us also create register.ejs, and maybe finally dashboard.ejs, so that after logging in successfully, you'll be able to log in or register. After logging successfully, you'll be able to go to the dashboard and so on. So now we have all the pages we'll be needing. We have this, so we might need to set up our layout. The layout, we control every page in this application. Every page in this application, including the header, including everything. So let's close this. Since the layout controls every page, let's just build a layout that control every page. So in the body here, let's put a header, and inside the header let's put a nav. Inside nav, let's put a href for our home page, and here let's just call a class. Let's call it logo, and let's say my logo. Put dots just for beauty. So okay, this way is good, but let's just wrap it in a div for convenience. So let's say href equals to home, then inside this place let's wrap everything in a div. So just .logo, and we'll now say my logo. for convenience sake, so that it's clickable without even having to do so much. So after this, in the same place, in this same nav bar, let's put our menu. In this video, we show how you can jump. If you don't like all the whole design process, you can just jump them and move on. So, but then if you like it, you can just follow it. If you are a very absolute beginner, you may just follow it so you understand every part of it. So, but then it's still important to know. So let's say this should go to our dash login page, and let's call this one login. Another one should be register. You just create this one and call this one register. So another one should be maybe dashboard. Should go to our dashboard, and let's call this dashboard. So that'll be all for now, and maybe log out. Log out, so that we have all this log out. We might also put a span here, just say span, and just say hi Ernest. Ernest is my name. So let me put a smiley emoji, put this. So this is what we have here, and this is a layout. So if you go to the home page and refresh, you see this is what we were trying to create. So this is a layout. It will appear on every page in this application. So what else do we do? So let's create a styles. Style.css, and now style everything in the whole header section. So this styling will help us not to create styling for different parts at all the time. So let's clear our defaults. Let's say margin 0, padding 0, box size in. Let's set that to border box. Let's also do our A tags to make it text decoration. Set it to none. And let's the color inherit from the closest parent. So what else? Let's put the body. Background color of the body is our case. Background color, let's just say RGB. Let's say 138. This is a shade of teal. 217, 217. So if you look at what we have, if you refresh, okay, because we have not linked it, so let's link this style sheet to our layout. This layout will control everything. So link CSS. Remember, from here we said our static files will start from CSS here, so that's why we have to say /CSS/here. So if you refresh now, you should have it. So that's it, it's working. So now that we have here, we go back to our CSS. Now we have correctly connected it. So let's go to, next will be our header. our header, what we want, let's say background color to be white, FFF, and let's say the height to maybe 70 pixels, and let's put box shadow just to make it a little elevated, and let's say 2 pixels, 2 pixels, 3 pixels. This is my RGB. Can choose any color here. I say 148, 148. My green will be 148 or so, and my blue will be also 148. It's my very fine shadow, 48. So if you look at it, you should see that's what we have here. So after the header, we visit the nav according to our design. We just from header we are in nav. So let's nav, let's say but header, because we have things jump packed here, so let's flex this. Let's just say display flex, and we want the nav to occupy the whole place. So let's say flex grow 1, okay, and let's say padding for this nav by, let's just say 15 pixels padding, and let's say also display flex on its own, align item center, and justify content space between. So that will be fine. If you look at it, if you refresh, we've separated this and this. So what next to be done is, let's visit that logo, the class of logo we created, and let's say font weight bold. Font weight is bold. Font size, let's keep it at 30 pixels. And color, let's put it teal. It's my fine color. And cursor to be pointer. That will be fine for that. And finally, our menu, let's say display flex, align item center, align items to the center, and let's say gap to be 30 pixels. Good. This is our 30 pixels gap, and it's fine. So we have our header, and the menus are set. So why not we just say font weight to this. Font weight, let's keep it as bold. So everything will be bold here. Okay, it looks more beautiful. Beautiful. So this is it. So what next? And let's just put this. Let's just put hover, the hover effect, so that if you click on that, let's the color change from black to teal. It will be fine. This is it. If you hover, it's just a little effect, not really important in this video, but for now that will be fine. So remember, we created a span here. Let's pick this span. The span. This span, let's just say text decoration. Let's capitalize it. Sorry, text transform. text transform, capitalize. We want the name, the username to be capitalized, and maybe let's say cursor pointer, and that will be all. So this is all we want to do. And maybe this, in the home page we have h1. We have h1 in the home page. Let's just capture every h1 here. Say h1. This is not the best way to do CSS, but let's just say test align center. You can create your own custom style of doing CSS. Let's say margin top, let's say 50 pixels, and let's text transform, let's say uppercase, so that this thing will just align in this. Instead of being here, let's put it here, and the capital letter. So we know we are in the home page, and this is exactly what we want to build. So we are done with this home page. Let's visit our login and register pages and quickly build that. But then we can't build the page if the route is not existing. So let's go to our auth route and now say in the auth route we will create the routes that control the page and the action page. So let's say router.get register. They should let's say auth controller, because I'm going to use a controller. Auth controller dot register page. So now let's const auth controller require controllers. We have not created controllers here, so let's create controllers folder, controller. So here it should require controllers, then auth controller. So let us quickly create this auth controller here. .js. So we don't need it now. We don't need this layout. We don't need server. We need this. So register page. So what do? You go to the auth controller we just created and say module.export equal to this. So we have auth controller or register page where we have maybe a function that will take request and response and return this. So when you hit this auth controller page, it should take you to the page where we created. So res.status, this is not very important, but just so register page, render this register page for us. Register page, and pass the title of the page. Set it as a login system, and register. So What else? We explain the layout. You may have multiple layouts, so we are using layouts / layouts. So we are using just one single layout for this. So if you hit /login, it should now just render this page for us, which is register. So let's call this one h1 register. Now, because we are using register, we are using the same layout. If you go to this page now, it will just show you, see, we're already in register. We don't need to start doing any other thing. We're already in this page and everything is already fine. So, but we need to build a register form here, and that's what we have to just quickly, as fast as possible, do to make sure everything is in line, consistent with what we are building here. So we take down this, and just do, let's say, class of container, a container class to carry everything. Then let's put a form, type of post, and the action of this form is to register. Register method is post. We open this form, and we have our h3, and let's call it register, which is the title of the form. So what next do we do? Let's put input type of text, and let's say placeholder is username. When you are registering, and let's the name be username, and let's have this more in 3 places. So this one is type of email, and let's be email, and this one email. So let's call this one type of password, placeholder is password, and let's call the name as password is 2. So this is our username, email, and password, which we are taking while you're logging in. Then let's put a button, type of submit, and let's call it submit. So this is our register form is here. So let's quickly design this form in line with what we are already having. And remember, since we are using styles.css in the layout, let's just continue to use it. So let's go to styles.css here and call the container class we've created, this container class. Let's the height of the entire container. Let's calculate the height is, let's say, the whole screen height minus the height of the header, which we set at 70 pixels. So that's the class of the height. So, and if we select it, just display flex. Why we are putting it as display flex, that's so we can centralize the whole form. We are now picking the form because the form is inside the container. Let's say let the margin of the form be auto, so that it will just be exactly in the center of the page. Look at it, both up, down, left, west. It's in the center of the page. So this form is like this, and let's do what else. But we won't want the thing to be at the center of the page fully, because it will be too down. So let's say margin top, let's say 15 pixels. so that we go up a little bit. Then let's say let the width be 40%. And what else is the background color of the form? Be white. And what do we want again? Let's say padding the 15 pixels. Okay, and let's make it a display flex and flex direction to be column. And what else? Let's separate it gap, like 15 pixels gap. And let's border radius, we will see it. Border radius be 5 pixels, just to put, let's say put box shadow. Box shadow, let's say my usual box shadow. I can just copy it here. 223, 148, 48, 48. But let's copy it and paste here. So this is what we have as, let's see what we have. So this is the form, but then let's treat the input data. Let's go, the title is H3, which is the register we created. Let's make text align, center, and also let the color be our official color, tail, and let the font size be, let's say 20 pixels, and let the font weight be bold. Let the font weight be bold, and let's visit input. Does impute, let's say padding. No, can't have auto padding. Let it be 10 pixels. And what else? Let the border be made very thin, so it won't look so big. Let the border, you can see this border, I want to make it so thin. So let it be 0.5 pixels in solid border, and let it be light gray. Let it be light gray, and let's put border radius to align with the same border radius we have there, 5 pixels. Then let's this input, when someone focuses on the input, it's something I like doing, so I will take off the outline, set it as none, and also change the background color when hover or to RGB. Let's set it to light gray, but instead of light gray, let me say do 240. Red, my red to be 240, my green to be 237. My blue to be 237. What's this? 237, and that's it. So why not I also visit the button. Button is the very last part, so it's the background color be teal, our official color, and let the color of the text color be white. Let's be consistent. F. So what else? Let's there be no border. Border is always good to be taken out from buttons. Okay, so let's add a little padding to it. So first padding, let's say 10 pixels. What else can we do to the border? It's too sharp, let's say border radius. So let's say 5 pixels to be consistent with the border radius we've been using, and let the font size be 16 pixels is okay, and because of the pointer. So when you hover on the button, what we should know, button and hover. So when you hover on the button, let's change the background color a bit to RGB. Let's say 3. My red color will be 3, and I will have 164 as green. And and I also have 164 as my blue. So it's another shade of teal. 3, 164, 164. So this is it. So this is our form. It's fine. Let's see what it looks like here. Oops. Let's try and see if we make it a little responsive. This is not very important for what we are doing, but just so it will be appealing to the eye, let's just add a little responsiveness. It's not very important, it's not part of the whole stuff, but let's just, it's good to be good. At media, let's say max weight, match that weight, let's say 560 pixels. What do we want? We want the header height. Let's put the height as auto, no more 17, and nav, let's do flex direction. Instead of that normal distance, let the flex direction now be column, because we told it to display flex, and let the logo push it down a little bit, because we don't want it to jam the logo. Let's say the margin button, we say 5 pixels, and let's check what we have. If you refresh, you put this down. Okay, so you can see. Okay, but then we are not going to have all this. We are going to use EJS to control what we have, but you can see it has pushed this now down a little bit. So we can also say flex wrap to wrap, but let's tackle the menu. Let's justify content space between. Let's say justify content or space between, and let's our form width, because that form, you can see how narrowed it is. Let the width become, instead of 40%, it is now be 90%. So this will be all. If it's not fine, it's not the core part of this, it's just that, okay, this is cool. This is cool. This is okay. You can just manage it like this. Alright, so we'll see what it looks like when we start using it. So this is it for the login. At least it looks like what we want to build. So let's go back, and now we are done with CSS here. We are done with register page. So let's go back to the auth and build our login page. Let's do login page. Don't need to worry, we are not going to build a whole page like this. No more CSS. So we'll have login page. We create this page. Go to this and create. Okay, we have a login page. Yes, so but we are going to controller to build login. So put this login page. We have requests and response, and we have this, and so we say res.render with the status. As it successfully renders, then render the login page. I'll take our parameters, title, or title this. I just pick these two, put them here, and now change here from login to register to login. So we have this. Now we go to the login page and have this. I'll call this this maybe h1 login. So if you click on this login page, refresh this, click on login page, we get login. So we need to create a form for login. Unfortunately, we are not going to build a form afresh. The login and register page look alike, so we just copy here and paste everything. Just that here we will make some modifications. We don't need email. We will change this to login. We change this to slash login. Then here placeholder will be username or email, and we still call it username, and everything is okay. Pay attention to this, username or email, yet we call it username. Pay attention to it. So we are done with this form. If you go back and refresh, you know we have our login form already. So that's the beauty of layout. We are using the same layout and it's already responsive. So everything is fine. It's already responsive as we want it. All the design we made also apply to this. So it's fine. So now we progress. Now we have built our pages. Everything is the way it should be. So next thing will be to, let me be sure everything here is fine. It's login, it's passwords, login goes to login, password goes to password. We've not created a dashboard. Okay, so let's also quickly create our dashboard. Dashboard will also be under our past dashboard. We have a dashboard here. So if you click on dashboard, you should be able to. Dashboard will require its own route. So let's just quickly create dash route here. Dashboard routes. I don't want to put it in the alt route for a certain reason. So const router will require express, and let's put require express here and router. So we export this route module dot exports native this router we've created, and to get our router is router dot get slash sb dashboard controller. Let me just handle this. So controller, because I like using controllers. Dot dashboard page page. So this, let me create, even though I've not created this, const this equals to require controllers and this. So now I'll create it here. .js. So if you navigate into it, you have module .exports. I will just say dashboard page, dashboard. What did I call it here, please, for convenience sake, so I don't make mistake? Dashboard page. So this is what I'm trying to read here. Let's set it to a function, take requests and response parameters, and return res.status for consistency. Since I'm already using it, status, because I'm a back-end developer, so all this the render page, I don't really know much about them. I don't render pages. There's the render, the dashboard created, and we also going to pass these params. Let's close up here. I'm going to pass title and just call it login system and dashboard. So, and we're also going to use the same layout. No need changing layout. Layout. So now let's go to the route, to the server, and call this app.use. What should we use to identify our dashboard? Let's call it, because if you don't demarcate it, Express won't know dashboard, won't know which page exactly you are calling. Require server /routes/ the dashboard route we created, dashboard. So we go to our layouts and put this to dashboard. So if we click on this now, it should take us to the dashboard. Like here now, well, this is dashboard, right? So now if we come to this dashboard CSS, even though we have not added anything here, it's already reading. So just say h1, say dashboard. If you refresh, you will know you're in the dashboard. This is it. So this is login, this is register, this is dashboard, and this is a function we will create. So everything now, all the pages are set, everything is in order. So let's close this dashboard page and server and connection and user model and .env file and dash controller and this and just know what we want to do. So now let us handle, I want to quickly say something. In this implementation, I may not extensively be handling errors. Error handling is not guaranteed in this project. I just want to quickly do what is important now that we've taken a lot of time to create this CSS file and the pages. So let's say router.post to register. So we do port controller dot register. For a new person to register. So we go to this port controller and now let's put it here. Let's put accent function that take request and response. Put comma here. So let's wrap this in a try and catch. And if there's error, just console the log the error. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to be handling error in this. So now that we have this, what do we take from the body? Is the username and the password from the person. So we extract a username. We want the user to provide username, email, and password from what he passed in the body, the form body, from request.body. So let's just quickly do a small handling. Let's say, so if username is equal to, make it strictly empty, or email is empty, or password strictly empty, then we cannot progress. So you return from the function and rest the status, let's say forward 3, then redirect back. Redirect, if it's correct, redirect to /register, meaning if the user didn't provide anything here or here, just remain where you are. This is exactly what is happening now. The user no provide anything, so remain where you are. So even if you provide username and email but did not provide password, it will still remain where you are. Let's just do small front-end validation and add required here. Required, just to do required. So if you even do it, to just say required. So that's just a small front-end validation. But then, if the user provides further details, like he provided further details more than this, so then we know we are in business. So you now bring in the user model, once user model, or which will be required from control models, user model, because we'll be hashing their password. So let's bring bcrypt, const bcrypt, was to require bcrypt.js. So that will be all for here. So what do we do again? Let's now all validations are passed. Validations passed. So what do we do? Let's say const sort. Let's await for bcrypt, which we created to generate sort for us. Await bcrypt to please generate a sort, not sort sync, for us and make it 10 times strong. But then let's see if we have a hashed password. Let's say hashed. Let's create a hashed password while we are still awaiting for bcrypt to please hash this password we have. This is our password that the user provided using your sort. It's just an appeal. What we said here is bcrypt, please generate a terrible sort for us 10 times deep. Now, so that we can from there have a hash password which we will wait for this same bcrypt to bundle the hash of this our password with this sort it has created. So that's what. So if all things are good, so we now await for our user model in the server MongoDB to create these user details for us, where we take in the username as username, email as email, and the password. Instead of the raw password, use the hashed one, please. Use the hashed password. So if this thing is successful, if you successfully do this, then please go back or go straight to login page. This is exactly what we are saying here. Let's format this selection and see what we have. Of course, this is just a simple implementation, but what we are saying here, please, user, please provide us your email, username, and password. If you don't provide, you're not going anywhere. So if you provided it, we now tell our bcrypt, which is a hashing system, to help us generate a terrible sort 10 times deep. So we now use that sort to create a hashed password using the sort from the password this user provided. So if after awaiting the bcrypt to do that, we now also await for the user model, which is our MongoDB database, to create this person's information. If this thing is successfully created and there is a user, just go straight to login page. If we test this, and let's use my dog's name, Brian is the username, and the Brian at gmail.com is the password, and the email, and the password is Brian, and let me just say 1 2 3 4 5 6, because Brian never told me his password. So if it's successful, we are in the login page. So we've successfully created a user, and that's why it came here. If we did not create, it will not come to this. Like I said, I'm not going to be managing complex errors. I would have told you a flash message here, logins, register successful, please log in, all those, but I'm not going to handle that. This video will be too long. So now we are successfully creating. What else do? We will now go to login. Login is where the whole technology we are using is going to shell, is where it's going to happen. First of all, we will go to create the passport middleware. The passport.js middleware is the real stuff of this whole project. But trust me, I'm going to make it fast and efficient so that this video will be too long. So here we'll create passport.js in the utils, passport.js. So here we will bring what we will be bringing here, our user model. Let's bring the user model. Okay, let's start from the major thing, const. Let's bring in passport. Okay, we are using passport here as a function, so let's use const user is equal to require our user model, our model stroke user, please come out. So here we are using passport local strategy. The strategy, there are different strategies in passport, but in this video I want to strictly focus on just the passport local strategy. There are other types of strategy, Facebook, Google, all kinds of strategy, but we are just using passport. So here also we may bring in bcrypt because we are dealing with password system. So require bcrypt.js. So now we have brought in our user model, we have brought in passport local, we have brought in these things. So let us create a function, a exportable function that we will use. So let's initialize this I like using it like this. Let's set it to a function that will take a passport as parameter. This we also, this arrow function. So this we now take this parameter here. It could be anything, but I will just wrote it as passport so that you will know I will pass passport inside this initialize function. So I'll have now the passport. I will tell it to use. It create a new instance of this local strategy. This local strategy we also take an async function. Pay attention to here. This async function will take some parameters, but before then, let's just know where we are. This async function will take 3 parameters. One is user input, whatever the user puts, user input as the username. Then the password we want to hash. We want to then done. This is the local strategy default parameters. So here we now see const user. Let's set a user as we check our user model we brought in to find one person. Find one person. Now, this is where a complex logic comes in. So we can use both username and password. Find one person where his user input, which is the username. If user input includes, the only thing that is unique in password is this thing, is in email is this thing. So if the user input, the thing the person input contains at, then email now becomes, the user email becomes user input to lowercase, just to be very sure we know what we are doing, to lowercase. Also, let's trim it. If includes at, that means it's email. However, if it doesn't include at, that means the user input, username becomes user input. User input to lowercase and trim it. I know this particular place might be confusing, but that is what informs the basis of being able to log in with either username or password using passport.js. You take user input, whatever the person enters here as either email or password, you take it as a user input. Now you check if that user input contains at. If it contains at, consider it as an email. If it does not contain at, then consider it as a username. All these ones is just to remove white places and make it lowercase, because we are still going to set all registration to be lower in lowercase. So now we have this. After this thing, we now have a user. So check is going to find for the user in the DB. That's why we put a thing here. So now, if there is no user, if we don't see anybody like that, okay? If there is no user with such thing, then return. Say done. Okay? That means there is nobody body like that, so it's null, and it's false. No error. Then you can also pass a message parameter, pass message as message this username or email doesn't exist. Else, if there is, okay, you check if the password is correct. Check if password is correct, because it might be, but you are not sure. So const correct password, you tell bcrypt. That is why we brought him. That is exactly what we brought him here to do. Bcrypt to compare this password, this person, and the user's password in DB, to compare it. So now if the password this guy compared is not correct, if it's not correct password, return again, return, then done, then no error, then false. Okay, then you pass this message parameter, put a comma here, pass an object, message, say password is incorrect. So if it's incorrect, else if it is correct, you can just return done again. That is the middleware style. Then null, and you pass the user. So that's it. But then there's one funny thing Passport does. You need to now serialize and deserialize. After logging in, you serialize the person and create a request.user. So if the person logs out, you deserialize and remove the passport.serialize. The spelling serialize user, serialize user. Okay, this will take a function. This will take a function that will take up the user and done. So then return done, because there is a user, then no error, then user dot username. It can be some user ID. See, I'm using username. That means the person is logged into the system. If the person is logged out, you now say passport dot deserialize. The problem here is if the spelling is correct, deserialize. If it's wrong, we will fail this. Serialize user. So this will take an assign function. Async function that will take the username and done. Any typo error here, this thing will not fly. Take this down here and put try and catch, because there are a couple of errors already. So you return, if there's an error, you return done, with the error. Now, but if there is no error, so const user is equals to await user dot find one whose username is the username. Then what do? If you find him done, then throw him as null, then not user. So you pass the null for error and the user for the serialized user. So null for error and user for the serialized user. This is just serialized user, whatever. So this is it. We've been able to create this whole middleware. So what do we do again? We export this initialize function, module.export. If we have any error, it will be initialized. If you have any error, it will be typo error. Initialize. Maybe sure. Okay. So what next now is to call this function in our, we call it in the server, so it will be controlled directly from the server. Couple of things we need to do in the server now with this passport. First of all, will be to bring in const passport. Passport is require passport.js. Another thing we might want to bring in, we already have session. We have section. We also need to bring in connect Mongo, const Mongo store. We require connect Mongo. Remember, we created connect Mongo from beginning. We installed connect Mongo. So let's bring the initialize function, const initialize. We require dot server slash utils. I think that's what it is. So now that we have it, so here let's load this passport. Load the passport middleware. So the passport will be brought in, initialize, which we have created. Initialize is a function and it takes passport as parameter. If you remember, this passport, it takes it as parameter here. So another thing will be to come down here, somewhere around here, and create let's say here, and say app, and add the session variable as .use session, which we created, which we added as a variable, and provide the session data. So the store, let's use Mongo store, which we have up there, dot create let's say Mongo u underscore URL, and let it be process.env dot mongo URL. Let me be sure. .env here. Mongo URI. So let's continue. If we meet error, we treat it as an error. So secret, let's use process.env.session underscore secret. So, but there is no session secret. Let's quickly create it here. Just call it anything. Just use our secrets. So let's resave, so that because if you look at it, you don't want to save when there is nothing. So save on initialized, set it to false. What is this error we are getting? Cannot incline. Please provide options. Okay. Let me see. Mongo store. What do I call it here? This Mongo store. Mongo store. Trying to get what's causing the error. Mongo store dot Mongo URL. Mongo URL. This. Okay, I think it takes, I have to expressly provide the URL instead of using my own default syntax naming. So after this, if you are following this tutorial, please follow it strictly and know that you cannot put these middlewares above this session secret. So let's load passport middlewares. So now let's say app.use passport, okay, dot initialize function, also app.use passport dot session. These two things are very, very important for this project. So passport naturally on its own, the way it was created, creates request.user automatically for us. So we don't need to start creating it manually. So let me just, that request.user that passport creates, let me set it as global variable so I can use it anywhere in my code. So this is another middleware, but it's a middleware as a global variable, request.locals.user. Let me call it user, so I can use it everywhere in my application. Then after this, then I'll call this next function. So I can now use user as request.user all around, especially in my EJS pages. So couple of things I also need to do. Let me create a in the middleware here. Let me create authorization Node.js as a middleware. Let's close what I'm now using. I'm using passports now. I'm not using server. Just this. So let's create authorization middleware where every you can control all the routes. The exports, set it to this. Let's be sure. Let's ensure that a user is logged in. Ensure logged in. Let's set this to request.next middleware. I'll call it now. Passport provides a method called is authenticated. So let's say if request dot is not authenticated by passport.js, if request dot is not is authenticated, okay, if it is authenticated, then return. Next, call the next function. Else return res.redirect to /login. What this thing means is if user is not logged in, return him to login page, else take him to dashboard. So ensure that somebody did not log in. Ensure that somebody who has logged in is not accessing a non-logged in page. So let's build that one too. So this one we also take if request is not authenticated, then return next. Else redirect the person. Redirect the person to where? Dashboard. So now, if a user is not logged in, no need to give him access to the dashboard. But if he's already logged in, always return him to dashboard if he's authenticated. So this is what this thing, you can go back on it and practice it anyhow, but this is exactly what this route controllers does. So let's see how we use this middleware in our routes. So let's go to the auth route and now see if we can bring it in. In this auth route here, let's bring in those middleware so that we'll be able to know what is going on. So let's say in the auth route, let's say ensure guests const. We are ensuring that somebody is a guest to see the auth route. So require you should be a guest to see, meaning you're a guest because you have not logged in. Require middlewares and authorization. So you are making sure you are a guest for you to see this. You must be a guest even for this too, even in the login page. Now, but we have not handled this login page, login handler. So let's handle login handler. We've only created the passport middleware, but we have not handled login handler. So if somebody eventually logs in, comes to login, so let's go to our auth controller and now handle login. This is just the page, so let's now handle the login action itself. Login handler, this will take an async function that take requests, res, and next, because we are going to handle this as a middleware try and catch. If we do try and catch in this, it will help us quickly detect if there is any error. Then if there is none, we will also know. So, but then before we even do try and catch, let's quickly bring in user input. Let's validate form. Validate forms. So what next? Let's extract. Let's get username, password, because those are the two entries. Let it come from request.body. So let's do basic validation. So if there is no username typo or no password, if they are all false, what do? We render back the page, res.status 200, and just render this page again for us. Just render this page back for us. If you did not provide any of those details, render. But in case he did, this else is not really important, but just so we will be in the same page, because everybody is not in the same level. So we have passports, we bring in the passports middleware. You can see it has already appeared here. We now bring passport.authenticate using the local strategy, because the method we are using is local. So let's set our session, set it to be true. We are using session. Now here a callback that takes error, the user, and maybe info. Let's see how it goes. Now if there is an error, you throw the error, say return next error. That's it. Now, but if there is no error, and also let's check if there is a user or no user. If there is no user, from the serialized system, return res.redirect. If there is no user, so what do? redirect to this our login. I'm not handling error, else I would have flagged no error, no user found here. But if all things are fine, there is a user and everything is fine, so we now use request.login, which is a method in this request.login. Now we take the user which is logged in, and if there is an error, we handle the error first. There's an error. There's an error. If error, throw the error. Return. Next error. Well, if there is no error at all, if everything is fine, there's no error, what do we do again? Let's redirect to dashboard. Res.redirect to /dashboard. Well, this might be complex to understand, but just take your time and review it one by one. After that, this is like an in-call middleware. So you have pass your request, you have to pass your res and the next functions here. So you close out of this. So this is our login system, the real function that handles the login. We've handled the passport middleware. So remember, there is a dashboard. Now we can reach it even without logging in. So let us try to log in. We have Brian, username Brian, and password was 123456. If we log in successfully, we should be in the dashboard. That means we logged in. So let's handle logout so we can remove people from section. So let's handle logout. Logout is also an alt route, so let's provide a router for logout. So let's use this. Let's just call this logout. Don't need to be guests to log out, so let's call this logout, and let's pick this up here and come to this authorization, close this a bit, put a comma here and handle logout. There's a way to log out with passport, because we want to kill the section completely. We want to kill the section requests res. So we want to say request.section.destroy. We want to completely destroy this section. So this takes error. In case there is an error, if there is an error, let's just console.log the error. But if there is no error, what do? We just redirect, res.redirect. Redirect to where? Home page. But it will be fine to grab this in a try and catch to avoid issues. Let's just say console.log the error. I know this is not the best of implementation, but if you refactor this code, you can still flesh it out so well. So if we get this should be a get request, because so this person now that logged in can easily log out. Okay, I'm back to the home page. So now we have login, we have register, we have dashboard, we have everything. So now let's go to protect the routes with the middlewares we have created. With the middlewares we have created, so let's see how we can protect the routes. First of all, let's go to the dashboard route, which is the dashboard here. So let's bring in this authorization middleware into here. Instead of ensure guests here, let's say ensure logged in. So we pass this ensure logged in to this place. So now if you try to access this place, now you see it quickly takes you back to if you want to go here, you can go here. If you come to dashboard route, it will take you back to login. So it's working because we are not logged in. So this. So now if I also want to pass this ensure logged in, so okay, anyway, leave that one. So let's go to our layout. We have a layout that controls the text in the menu. That layout is, remember, in the server we created locals file, which we can use everywhere as user here. So let's go to the layout and see how we take advantage of that. So with our EJS, let's do some things here. Now let's say with EJS, let's do some if statements here. If there is no user, because we set user as request dot, if there is no user at all, if there is no user, don't bother giving out this. Else this EJS syntax is sometimes so crazy. Just pick this and the way EJS throws error. So instead of hard coding hi ns here, you can just put the username of the person and say user dot the person's user name. Let me revisit this place again. If there is no user, show this login and register. But if there is a user, show dashboard and this and this. So let's see how it works in action. So perfect. So now we have login, we have register. Now if we log in with Brian, at gmail.com, whose password is 123456. It will take you inside. Close this out. So you see dashboard, hi Brian, and log out. Now if you log in again and say Brian without just the username and 123456, it will still log you in again. Close out this. It will log you in again. So you have hi Brian, you have logout, you have dashboard. So you are already in the dashboard. So but if you try to go to log in directly, it will take you back to this dashboard. Now if you log out, you can only see login and register. You cannot access the dashboard route. No way. So in this video, we have been able to build a simple Node.js application with EJS template engine to view the pages. We were able to create a login system with Passport.js using local strategy. We also was able to create a route protection middleware for route protection. We learned how to use templating engine to print out basic informations and handle what we don't want the way we don't want it. We are also able to use layouts to distribute information around. We also were able to store things in the DB database, store a session and retrieve session information, express layouts, passports, middleware, everything works so fine and perfectly. So that is it. That is it for this video. If you like this video, please give it a like and follow me. Ask questions in the comment section. Whatever you didn't understand, feel free to ask. If you need any, if there's something you are struggling with Node.js or anything in JavaScript, just feel free to ask me in the comment section. I'll be so glad to help out and I will resolve it for you. If you have a video request or if there is any complex thing in Node.js, in JavaScript that you are struggling with, just ask the question. I will be very glad to answer you and do a video on that or answer you directly. If there is any part of this video you didn't understand, ask questions in the comments. I will be very glad to quickly reply you and tell you. I know there are aspects we didn't handle, but this is just a basic implementation where you can take username and email. You have seen cases where if you apply username and email in Passport.js, you can actually implement this with just normal stuff, but in Passport.js, that little thing is complex. If you didn't handle it very well, it will not work. So this will be the end of this video. I have shown you from the beginning my GitHub link. You can clone the whole project and use it and understand it better. So that's it. My name is Ernest. Subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and follow it up, and I will be bringing you more and more interesting videos as we progress. Thank you for watching.